Hey, what's up guys, Cave Productions here. So Samsung just had their Unpacked event where they announced a couple of new products. So they announced the Galaxy Z Flip 4, the Fold 4, the Buds 2 Pro, and the Galaxy Watch 5 series. Although I didn't have the privilege of going down to check out those devices myself, I thought that maybe some of you here might want to hear my thoughts about these new devices. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Here are my thoughts on the new announcements made by Samsung. So starting with the Galaxy Z Flip 4, overall this phone is mostly a spec bump from last year's Z Flip 3 with some quality of life improvements. So the specs have been updated with the Z Flip 4 now using a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 as compared to the Snapdragon 888 of last year. The battery size has also been increased from 3300 mAh to 3700 mAh, which could lead to much better battery life overall, especially combined with the new Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. The charging speeds have also been improved from 15 watts wired charging to 25 watts wired charging, which is definitely good to see. This improvement also does apply to wireless charging, where the speed has increased from 10 watts wireless to 15 watts wireless. Apart from all of that, that's pretty much where all the spec bump ends, as the Z Flip 4 does still use 8GB of RAM. Now that is a bit disappointing, as many flagships these days like the S22 Ultra over here uses 12GB of RAM, or some phones even using 16GB of RAM. But if you're not a heavy multitasker like me, or you close your apps very often, then 8GB of RAM should be more than enough. Another place that has seen some improvement is in the main cameras. Well, mostly only the standard wide camera. The new main camera is still 12 megapixels, but it does spot a bigger sensor, which should result in overall brighter and maybe faster taken photos. Other quality of life improvements include an improved cover display, which has much more functionality now as compared to the Z Flip 3, although this is much more software based, and these functions may also come to the Z Flip 3 eventually via a software update. In terms of physical hardware, the Z Flip 4 does feature a thinner hinge, which is always nice to see, especially for people with shorts or pants that have very shallow pockets. That is more or less the important changes to point out that Samsung has made to the new Z Flip. So overall, a much quieter update, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because last year's Z Flip 3 was already pretty good. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's kind of the mentality that I feel Samsung is doing with this year's foldables. Alright, moving on to the Z Fold 4, the trend does kind of continue. Like the Z Flip, the new Fold mostly receives minor spec bumps as well as some quality of life improvements. So the Z Fold 4 now features the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, a new 50 megapixel main camera over the 12 megapixels of last year, and also an improved telephoto as well, which is now a 3x zoom instead of 2x. There's also a smaller hinge like the Z Flip. The cover, as a result of the smaller hinge and also thinning of the bezels on the outside, the cover display is also much bigger. Well, not much bigger, but it is bigger than the Z Fold 3. Moving on into the inside of the Z Fold 4, the biggest improvement here is the second generation under display selfie camera. The pixel arrangement above the camera has been changed to basically hide the camera better. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to really see the Z Fold 4 in person, so I can't really tell you if it is indeed better or if the photos from the selfie camera are any good. Also, if I'm not wrong, the bezels on the inside have also been thinned out, leading to a slightly bigger display than last year. One thing that the Z Fold 4 does not improve over its predecessor, that the Flip 4 actually does, is increase its battery capacity. So the Z Fold 4 still has the same 4400 mAh battery, which is kind of alright. It can probably get you through a day, especially now that the Z Fold 4 also does have 25 watts fast charging, so it's okay. It's not great, but it's not that bad either. Another thing to note is the Z Fold 4 also does use Gorilla Glass Victus on its cover display, which means that it should be more durable than last year. But yeah, that's pretty much all we have to say about the Z Fold 4. Again, quite a minor spec bump or quality of life improvements over the Z Fold 3, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, as the Z Fold 3 was already a pretty good phone overall. Alright, let's move on to the next product, which is the product that I am personally most excited about. It is the Galaxy Buds 2 Pro. So the Buds 2 Pros are basically a successor to the Buds Pro, and they do take a lot of design cues from the Buds 2s, however, which might be the reason as to why Samsung chose to name these the Buds 2 Pro instead of the Buds Pro 2. But yeah, that's just my personal guess. So the Buds 2 Pro do come in 3 new colors: graphite, white, and purple. I would have personally preferred to see a more like solid black color over graphite, but at least the graphite is kind of like a matte black rather than a matte gray, which is nice to see nonetheless. The Buds 2 Pro, as I mentioned, spot a whole new design that is quite similar to the Buds 2. This actually overall allows the Buds 2 Pro to be smaller than the original Buds Pro, which is definitely a nice change. Now with this smaller size, however, it does seem like the size of the drivers may have been affected. The Buds 2 Pro still spot a dual driver design, so one woofer and one tweeter, but the woofer has been decreased from 11mm to 10mm, and the tweeter down from 6.5mm to a 5.3mm one. So, okay, but before we start panicking over the decrease in driver size is not the only indication of sound quality. Many other factors also do affect how good a pair of earbuds or headphones sound. If anything, driver size mostly affects the volume, but as I found with my original Buds Pros, they are more than loud enough in my opinion. So, and that's especially with ANC on. So I'm not expecting the decrease in driver size here to affect sound quality that much. I mean, the Buds 2 Pros are actually supposed to sound even better than the Buds Pros, but if I do get my hands on one, I'll try them out and tell you if they are actually better. According to Samsung, the battery life of the Buds 2 Pros are the same as the original Pros, so 5 hours with ANC on and 8 hours with ANC off. Which is a little of a bummer because, I really thought that maybe they were able to push out a bit more battery life with ANC on this time round, but 5 hours is still pretty good with ANC, and most people probably do not listen to their earbuds for more than 5 hours straight without taking a break. So 5 hours with ANC on, 8 hours with ANC off, still pretty good nonetheless. One department that has had an improvement in terms of battery life is the case. So the case now provides an extra 18 hours of battery life as compared to 13 hours on the previous Buds Pro, and this is with ANC on, so an extra 5 hours in the case is pretty good nonetheless. And that's considering the fact that the new case is essentially the same size and shape as all the Buds since the Buds Live, which is also a good thing for third-party accessory makers, because that means that third-party accessory manufacturers will have more incentives to keep producing or produce new accessories for the Galaxy Buds lineup, as it is a one-size-fit-all situation. Too many times, manufacturers tend to neglect the Android side of things or produce limited designs because the Apple side of things is, I guess, generally more popular. So because Samsung has chosen to keep the case size and the shape of the Buds 2s and the Buds 2 Pros the same as the Buds Pro and the Buds Lives, this means that if you do have accessories from your Buds Lives or even Buds Pros and you want to upgrade to the Buds 2s or the Buds 2 Pros, then you should have no problem, interchanging those accessories. So good job on Samsung for that part, and I do hope to see more third-party accessories out there in the market. Other new features for the Buds 2 Pro include a supposed 40% improvement in ANC, which I hope is for the higher frequency range because that is where I found the Buds Pros to struggle with the most. Apart from that, I think the 360 audio is supposedly improved, but I'm not very sure if I'll use it anyways, as I found 360 audio to be pretty lackluster on my original Buds Pros. It ended up being more annoying and weird sounding, so I kind of just stopped using 360 audio altogether. But by far the biggest change and upgrade to the Buds 2 Pro is the upgrade from 16-bit audio to 24-bit audio. So as some of you know, Samsung does use a proprietary codec for their Buds, which is SSC or Samsung Scalable Codec. But now Samsung is introducing or maybe renaming that codec to Samsung Seamless Codec, which allows the new Buds 2 Pros to achieve 24-bit audio compared to 16-bit audio of Buds past. So overall, I think that these are a great update to the original Buds Pros on paper. The new design may be more comfortable, as I have struggled with my Buds Pros falling out of my ears when I eat or talk too much. The better ANC should be good, and the improved 360 audio for those who use that feature is also a good update. Also, the increased audio quality. The only downside is that it does now start at a higher price of 328 Singapore dollars as compared to 308 Singapore dollars of the original Buds Pros, so an extra 20 Singapore dollars. Whether or not that price is justifiable, we'll just have to wait and see. Lastly, let's move on to the Galaxy Watch 5 series. So, starting with the standard Watch 5, it has seen some general improvements over the Watch 4. Physically, it does look almost identical to the Watch 4, but looks can indeed be deceiving. The new Watch 5 sports a sapphire crystal display, and I do this because we're kind of unsure if this is pure sapphire or a sapphire glass hybrid like the ones found on the Apple Watch and iPhone camera lenses, so we'll just have to wait for some testing to come out to see whether it is true sapphire crystal. The Watch 5 also has an increased battery capacity across all models, which is nice. The speed of charging has also been improved and now charges at 10 watts as compared to 5 watts of the last gen, if I'm not mistaken. Other than that, in terms of new features, all Watch 5 models also do include a health sensor, a new one, which is the temperature monitor. One thing that has unfortunately not been changed is the chip inside. The Watch 5 series still uses the same W920 chip as the Galaxy Watch 4 series, which is not entirely a bad thing as it is still a pretty capable chip. It's just kind of unfortunate that we didn't see a new and improved chip in these watches. Moving on to the Watch 5 Pro, the only difference between this watch and the non-Pro versions are the battery capacity, material, and design. So the Watch 5 Pro has the biggest battery in the lineup of 590 mAh, which is kind of massive for such a small device. But of course, that has led to this watch being a little thicker, but as far as I can see from other people's hands-on, it isn't very noticeable, which is good. In terms of materials, this Watch 5 Pro supposedly uses an even better sapphire crystal than the standard Watch 5, and also the frame is made of titanium as compared to aluminium. As you can see, the design is also a little different, with the display actually being recessed underneath a raised titanium frame that sort of acts like a bezel. So it kind of, in a way, is like the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic, where the display is recessed under the rotating bezel, but in this case, the rotating bezel, or the physical rotating bezel, is gone and has been replaced by a recessed digital one. Although this is kind of sad, that the physical rotating bezel is gone, one consolation I can think of is how the new recessed design may allow for easier use of the digital rotating bezel. But of course, it will still be nowhere near as satisfying as a physical one. One last thing that I personally want to point out is that I dislike this subtle change in design that they have made to the back of the new watches. So when comparing the backs of the new Galaxy Watch 5 to the Watch 4 series, we can see that the Watch 5 series lacks some information that the previous Watch 4 series had. So for example, we can see that the Galaxy Watch branding is now gone. It used to be on one of the health sensors over here. And the material of the casing is also gone as well. So as you can see on my Galaxy Watch 4 Classic, it used to write 46mm stainless steel case. The size of the watch is still there, but the material that the watch used is now gone. So the standard Galaxy Watch 5 no longer say aluminium, and the new Watch 5 Pro does not even say titanium, which is kind of a bummer in my opinion, because these subtle information that they used to include on the back of the watch help to make these watches feel more like a real timepiece rather than just a piece of tech. So definitely kind of sad to see them eliminating very random pieces of information. So I do hope that maybe Samsung does at least bring back the material of the case back. If they do not want to bring back the Samsung Galaxy Watch branding, that's fine. Yeah, but I feel like maybe the case material is important to help the watches feel more like a timepiece rather than just a piece of tech. One last thing to note is that the prices of the Galaxy Watch 5, the standard ones, do match that of last year's standard Galaxy Watch 4s for both the 40 and 44mm sizes, which is great. The Watch 5 Pro, however, reaches a whole new level of expensive, starting at 698 Singapore dollars for the one and only 45mm size. For comparison, the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic that I have over here, which is 46mm, started at 598 Singapore dollars. So the Watch 5 Pro is a whole 100 Singapore dollars more expensive than the 46mm Watch 4 Classic. Now I understand that the Watch 5 Pro does use a more premium material, which is titanium instead of stainless steel, but that is still a pretty high price to ask, for a piece of tech that may not last many years like an actual timepiece. But so overall, the standard Watch 5 is a pretty small update over the Watch 4, especially seeing how the chip inside is pretty much identical. If you ask me, if you don't care about a sapphire crystal display or the temperature sensor, then the standard Galaxy Watch 4 on discount can be a pretty appealing deal. And besides, the Galaxy Watch 4 technically feels a bit more like a classic timepiece with more information on the back as compared to the new Watch 5 series. As for the Watch 5 Pro, I think that it might achieve what it sets out to be, which is a more rugged and sporty version of the standard Galaxy Watch 5, as compared to the Watch 4 Classic, which was meant to be a more like blend-in dress watch kind of watch, although the stainless steel also made it more durable than the aluminium Galaxy Watch 4. But indeed, that new price tag for the Watch 5 Pro is quite hard to swallow, so if you can't afford to pay that much or want the physical rotating bezel, then you're in luck, because the Watch 4 Classic is still around. It may not be around forever on Samsung's website, but I'm sure you can find one at your local tech store, which is great. And besides, they should be going down in price now, and many of them will probably be on discount soon because the new Watch 5 series is out. So the Watch 4 Classic might be a better choice for you, especially as the prices are going down. So that is all I have to say about Samsung's new announcements at their Unpacked event. So I probably won't be able to get my hands on all of these devices. I may only be able to get my hands on one, which might be the Buds 2 Pros. I'll have to see how about that, because my Buds Pros are honestly still really good. But that's all I have to say for this video. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, do give it a thumbs down. Let me know down in the comments if you actually like me being going through my thoughts on all these new devices, even though I may not have had any hands-on on them. But yeah, please definitely do subscribe if you haven't, as it really helps this channel out, and it helps me to continue doing these things, because I enjoy it, but it's fun to see the subscriber count go up as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.